Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Angela.
Let's have a look at the newspapers for you this morning. The Times has an investigation into British Gas, who, through an intermediary, broke into vulnerable people's homes to fit prepayment meters.
The Guardian leads with Shell's profit announcement, which the TUC union has called obscene.
The Express says the Bank of England's forecast on the UK economy is, wait for it, looking optimistic.
While the Daily Mail leads with the disappearance of Nicola Bulley in Lancashire 1 week on.
OK, let's see what journalist and playwright Emma Burnell and comedian Leo Kearse have found for us this morning.
Shall we start with you, Leo? Because Nicola Sturgeon is under real criticism in the Telegraph, isn't she?
Yeah.
For her views on gender laws.
That's right. Well, so the SNP, who run the Parliament in Scotland, they brought through a law, the gender reform bill, that basically makes it much easier to transition. You just say you're a woman, and then you magically, poof, you're a woman. And this has come in. That came in for some criticism. They said it could be exploited by predatory men who might say that they're women to get access to women's spaces such as female prisons. And obviously we're told, no, you're being transphobic. This would never happen.
But no one... to say, to used by predatory men to get access, no one's going to deliberately go to prison.
So, but if, so say, for example, you're convicted of rape, you could then say you're a woman during the court proceedings and then get access to a women's prison where you can presumably, continue offending, or certainly have a nicer time of it than in a male prison. And, we were told, no, you're being transphobic, this would never happen. The next week, it literally happened. So there's a double rapist who now goes by the name of Isla Bryson and has transitioned just by calling himself a woman and putting on a wig. And Nicola Sturgeon has come under a huge amount of flack. He's now been moved from a women's prison to a male prison. So people are saying, well, Nicola, your law doesn't stand up. If you're saying if you've literally moved this man from a women's prison to a man's prison, then this undermines your whole gender ideology law. And so she still refuses to say whether Isla Bryson is a woman or not. And a child can look at Isla Bryson and say, no, that's obviously a bloke.
Well, no, that's not fair.
No, it is fair.
No, it's not fair because, some people in early stages of transition, it's quite obvious they're transitioning, so that's not fair. It's not to say, because that could apply to a lot of people who are genuinely transitioning.
The thing is, Nicola Sturgeon is in deep doo-doo with this whole subject, isn't she?
Well,
Yeah.
and also, the problem is, you use the phrase they're genuinely transitioning. The problem with self-ID law is that there is no transition, there is no process. It's taking out any of the therapy, any of the psychiatric evaluation, any of the medical evaluation, any of the medical process, and simply saying, not even, as a feminist, I don't find gender a useful construct, but there are things that match the two sexes, of which there are two sexes, that we then say, well, the girls wear this and boys wear this. So if you socially transition, you would then dress in the matching gender to the matching sex. But the problem is, and where Nicola Sturgeon is making a fool of herself, frankly, is if she stood up a week and 2 weeks after trying to pass this law, saying, I don't have enough information. That's the phrase she used. I don't have enough information to say whether this is a man or a woman. But self-ID, and what feminists have been warning about, is self-ID is simply somebody telling you that's what they are.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with self-ID. There are people, and we know from the recent census that 0.5% of people identify as trans, and many of them will go through a process, and we should be as kind as possible and as accommodating as possible, but without impinging on women's rights.
Yeah, well, but how do we use this or talk about this and deal with this in a sensible way that actually doesn't fund is the wrong word, doesn't channel because transphobia, because some people will jump on this and
of course they will.
literally trans people.
There are going to be...
This is the thing. It's the biggest, as well as causing potential harm to women in prisons and women in women's spaces. It harms transgender people, genuine transgender people who are genuinely transgender and put the effort into transitioning. This is predatory men coming in and exploiting the self-ID system. So a move to a self-ID system is a terrible idea. It means I could just say I'm a woman, and I'm magically a woman.
And come in a frock tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't even need to wear a frock.
No,
I
mean, I wear trousers a lot. It doesn't make me a man. I wear skirts sometimes. It doesn't make me more of a woman. And I think we absolutely have to be completely cognizant of the fact that some trans people have a very, very hard time, and there is some very, very nasty things said, and they should not be said. And when they are said by people on my side of the debate around self-ID and gender, I will always call that out. But that doesn't mean that we should then adopt laws that impinge on women's rights and the right to single-sex spaces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or indeed the other way around.
Indeed.
Women who wish to
absolutely.
That's an interesting point, just briefly, Angela, on that one, because the focus is always on men becoming women and not the other way around.
In the law focus, that's right, because women have single-sex spaces because, as we've often said, we know absolutely that not all men are rapists. We just don't know which ones are, and that's why we need protection in single-sex spaces. But there are real issues about the increased amount of young teenage girls who are identifying out of their own sex and saying that they're boys, and that is something that we should also be looking at.
Well, that set off a discussion, didn't it? Emma, you're looking at something a little bit more light-hearted, aren't you? Which is in the Mail today, which says that 1 in 3 Britons don't know their neighbours' names.
Yes, I think this is really sad. I'm so lucky. I live in a building with 10 flats in. We have a very active WhatsApp group. We all look out for each other. We all make sure that we take in and out the bins together. My neighbours have got my lovely, lovely neighbours, whose names I know. They're Emma and Ben. Hello, Emma and Ben, if you're watching. They've got my keys. They feed my cat. I feed their cats. And I think that kind of social solidarity is something that would be really missed if we don't have it.
Hang about with my neighbours. They're very nice. They're very nice, my neighbours. But you know,
we don't have to hang about with them, Stephen, but you know their names, right?
Ben's out at the same time. Well, I know the names on one side, but not the other.
Right.
Well, I mean,
what have they
What
done?
about you? Do you know your neighbours?
Yeah, I mean, we only moved in a few months ago, but yeah, I know the neighbours' names. But yeah, let's face it, this isn't a British problem. This is an English problem. In Scotland, everybody knows all their neighbours' names, and everybody's an uncle or an auntie to the neighbours' kids and stuff. But yeah, I think in London particularly, people are a bit more standoffish. I remember when I first moved to London, you just start talking to people at the bus stop, because that's what you do in Glasgow. Oh, yeah. And people would be like, I
do wonder if it's partly because kids don't play in the streets the way they used to anymore. And that used to be a way that everyone knew each other, because you'd all just pour out of your houses and talk to each other, and then the parents would have to come out at some point, probably about the same time, and get you all. And I think part of one of the problems is that we don't have those kind of shared experiences anyway, in the same way anymore.
I like shutting my door and not.
Oh, no, I know my neighbours in London. I've got John and Caroline next door, and they're lovely.
Yeah, I'm in East London, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Down in Devon, where I had my old family home. I know the neighbours all around. There's Anne, there's Peter, there's Jack, there's Kay, there's I know all of them. Oh. And
I'd just like to defend London very quickly, because I'm in London. I was born here. I've lived here all my life, and I've always known my neighbours. So I think London's what you make of it.
Yeah, but it's not like being a northerner.
Yeah, because you don't want to talk to anyone.
Oh, come on, you're maligning northerners. Northerners are lovely people.
Well, yeah, no, but I'm a northerner.
I know, but you don't know your neighbours.
Leo, let's have this. I don't understand. Mason Greenwood, a Manchester United fan, saying Mason Greenwood should never play for the team again. Yeah, he was accused of attempted rape.
That's right, about a year ago.
And it's been dropped entirely.
So the Crown Prosecution Service have dropped the charges because the key witness has pulled out, is not cooperating anymore. So I don't know what's happened there. So he's not going to face criminal charges, but I mean, there's that video or series of videos released to the internet. So I think most of us have seen those videos and know what those videos showed. So I mean, obviously I can't speculate, I can't say too much, because it's I don't want to get into legal hot water.
No.
But the fans.
He's an innocent man.
He's in the eyes of the law, he's an innocent man. But we saw those videos, so I think the fans are right to have some questions and have some doubts about whether he should return.
Yeah.
I have to say I haven't seen the videos, so. So I don't know.
And I don't care about football, so.
No.
There wasn't football in the videos.
Well, no. Let's just swiftly move away for legal reasons with that one. To The Guardian, Emma, looking at butterflies vanishing. Now, this actually worries.
It really is. Something like 80%, they're saying, of the butterfly population since 1979 has reduced. Now, this is something that's quite personal to me. My grandfather, who was a statistician, he was a wonderful man, part of what he did actually was, after retirement, because he was not the kind of man who retires properly, he actually helped them build statistical models for the counting of butterflies. So this is a family thing. And what's happening is there are some good news stories. We have reintroduced some species that were made extinct, but they are concentrated now in areas, in wildlife areas, and we're not seeing them in urban areas, in suburban areas. So there is just not the real density of the butterfly population that we used to have. 80% is an enormous number to lose.
Everyone needs to buy a buddleia. There you go.
Yes.
Attracts
The butterfly plant.
Exactly.
But not just buddleias. There are lots of plants that you can have in your
just
garden.
planting some
Even in an urban
wildflowers.
garden.
Yeah,
Even
absolutely.
if you've only got a pot or a hanging basket.
I mean, I have a slight problem in that my cat loves to chase them away.
Oh, no, you do. It keeps them busy. Keeps the cats busy. Just hope he's a useless hunter. Thank you both. We're going to leave it there for the time being. See you a little bit later on.
Now.